Hey guys, it's Luca from Learning MTG, and I want to make an update on my Magic Online specs. So, I think since the last time I made a video, I sold my Mishra's Baubles. Mishra's Bauble hit about 30 ticks, so I figured that was a good time to sell. So I got about between 27 and 29 for my Mishra's Baubles. I got about a return of 60%. Um, Let me see if it's gone higher since. Wow, so it's gone way higher since, so maybe I should have held on to these longer. Um, but yeah, it turns out this was a really good spec, and I think in the future I'll try to make a similar spec. What I like about Miniature's Bauble was the fact that first of all, it's not in Modern Horizons 2, so it's not in the new set. So the downside is the downside risk is a lot lower because it's not being printed like crazy. It's not basically being opened in packs, so there's not like new supply hitting the market. And since it's complementary to the new product, people who now have new Modern Horizons 2 cards, they need more Mishra's Baubles to go with their Modern Horizons 2 cards. So I think in the future I'll focus on cards that are not in the set that's being printed. And I also really like this spec because it fits in so many different archetypes, and it's like a tier 1 card. Also, it's coming off of, let's go to the Cold Snap version. It's also coming off of a reprinting. This is kind of counterintuitive, but a lot of times in Magic, the best time to buy is like after the bottom, after a reprint. So reprint will kill the price. Basically, new supply floods the market. But once that is over, it's kind of like been pushed down too low. It's almost like you pull a rubber band, and then it moves to the other side. It kind of like overcompensates when you let go of the rubber band, and then it comes back. So if you can buy in this range after reprinting, it's usually a really good buy. So yeah, so maybe I should have held on to this longer, but still made a nice like 50-60% profit. Um, I bought more Urzas, but I got kind of spooked and I sold. So what I don't like about Urza is it's a very specific card. It only works in a very specific deck. Like Mishra's Bauble works in many different types of decks. In fact, one of the things you can think about is pretty much every Urza's deck is going to be using Mishra's Bauble. Whereas there's many Mishra's Bauble decks that don't use Urza. So it fits into a lot less decks, which makes it more inherently risky. Because I mean, basically the prices of a card on Magic Online, the only way a price can go up is if the card is seeing play in a deck. And if it only works in a narrow range of decks, there's obviously a higher probability that it's not going to work in any decks and you kind of lose your money. So it's going up good. It's going up to 11. So basically these peaks keep getting higher. So that seems like pretty good news. And using kind of technical analysis, if it breaks this like 13 range, that could mean that the bottom is kind of reversing. Although I don't know, it's hard to really use technical analysis on these things, but I did buy more and then I got spooked. I bought more at 8 when it was going down, and then I just sold and I was like, screw this, because it went down to like 6 or 7. So I ended up having a loss of 18 ticks, or a loss of 40% on my Urzas. But I've still held on to these 3 copies that I have, so that's good. It's gone up since I bought it. I bought it for 8.2, now it's like 11.8. I also bought Alpine Moon. So sometimes I like to just do a fun little thing just to have a little bit of skin in the game and something. I bought Alpine Moon for 31.31 ticks because it's like supposedly a decent answer to Urza Saga, and I sold it for 50.53 each. So I made a profit of not even 1 tick. Let's see where it's at now. Um, as a Magic player, I don't like these types of sideboard cards. It's basically a sideboard card that's like very specifically good against a narrow strategy. I mean, it probably has other applications. Maybe it's good against Valakut or um. I mean, it's really just for Urza Saga, right? I don't think it has many more applications. So you have a very narrow sideboard card, and it doesn't even like dominate your opponent. If you played something like um, Damping Sphere, is it called Damping Sphere? I think, or even like Blood Moon, right? Like if you play Blood Moon, there's a lot of games where your opponent just loses the game. They can't play any more spells for the rest of the game. It's kind of like it's a very powerful card. I think that's what you want out of your sideboard cards. You want your sideboard cards to just kind of win you the game on the spot, or give you a huge advantage. This doesn't really give you a huge advantage against Urza Saga. In fact, you're kind of like down a card, right? Because you spent a card and their land still makes mana. Um, so yeah, from a Magic player's perspective, I really didn't like this card, but I couldn't help but notice how many people were trying to use it against Urza Saga. So I just did it for fun, just got in, got out. I bought Teferis recently. I bought them for like 35 ticks each. I noticed that the last challenge, um, there was 4 copies in the winning deck list. Also, this looks like maybe the bottom is over. Um, so I mean, it's barely moved up. It's moved up 4 ticks since then. We'll see what happens. I mean, Teferi is a very, very powerful card. It's going to be played in many different types of archetypes, so I like that. Um, it's good against some of the newer strategies. Basically, one of the big types of decks that came out of Modern Horizons 2 were decks that get to utilize Shardless Agent. Teferi is really good against any of those kind of cascade strategies. So that would be like your Living End, your Crashing Footfall Rhino decks. Even some people are playing the new card that what is it called? It's kind of like a Warp World type effect. See if I can find it. Oh, Glimpse of Tomorrow. Right, I've seen a few people trying to play this deck. I don't think it's any good, but you're good against any of these cascade strategies, right? Also good against Counterspell. Counterspell is really good. One of the new cards out of the new set. So yeah. So I thought go after Teferi, see what happens. Have I bought anything else? Yeah. So that's all I have right now is just 3 Urzas and 4 Teferi. So far I've made a profit of 135 ticks. Oh, I guess the other thing I didn't mention is I sold Force of Vigor. So Force of Vigor was close to 30 ticks, and I sold it for about an 80% profit. Let's see if it's gone higher since. Yeah, so I think I may have timed the top pretty well there. So, yeah, so that's it. I guess one of the lessons that I've kind of relearned, because I've learned it before, is I think it's best to speculate on cards that fit into many different archetypes. I don't think the market properly values the fact that a card like Mishra's Bauble fits in a million different decks. So you just tend to have better results, I've found, when you invest in cards that fit into many different decks on Magic Online. And again, going after cards that are a lot riskier is maybe not a great bet, like Urza. And probably in the future, if I did want to invest in a card like Urza, I would try to wait for like these bottoms. If it gets low to around like the 6, 6 ticket range, maybe buy then, because it's a much riskier card. So I think it pays off in that case when the card's a lot riskier to wait for it to get to lower prices. So that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.